Bronx rapper K-Flock was among the 8 alleged gang members indicted on federal racketeering charges last week Thursday, with the rapper also accused of murder, assault with a deadly weapon, and conspiracy. K-Flock, born Kevin Perez, faces a mandatory life in prison sentence if convicted on all charges. Perez is already behind bars awaiting trial for state murder charges related to the December 2021 shooting death of Oscar Hernandez, the same victim listed in the federal indictment. The indictment alleges that Perez and 5 other male defendants were members of Sevside, or DOA, a street gang based in the Bronx. 3 alleged members of an opposing Bronx street gang, dubbed Third Side, were also indicted. Over a span of several years, the members of these gangs allegedly terrorized neighborhoods in the Bronx and Manhattan by killing and shooting other people. U.S. Attorney Damian Williams said in a statement, "Through these charges, we will hold Sevside and Third Side members responsible for plaguing our communities with gun violence." Damian Williams, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York, and Keechant L. Sewell, Commissioner of the New York City Police Department, NYPD, announced the unsealing today of an indictment charging Kevin Perez, aka K-Flock, aka K, aka KK, Devin Mason, aka BJ, Irvin Beeman, aka EJ, Nicholas Johnson, aka Nick, Sean Smith, aka Sticky, and Jossie Castro, aka Jesse, with racketeering conspiracy and other crimes related to their membership in Sevside, or DOA, a street gang based in the Bronx, New York. On January 26, 2023, a superseding indictment was unsealed charging Isaiah Rouzin, aka Zay Munna, aka Zay, and Michael Gant, aka AP, with racketeering conspiracy and other crimes related to their membership in Third Side, a street gang also based in the Bronx, New York, that was closely affiliated with Sevside. Perez was also charged with the gang-related murder of Oscar Hernandez, who was shot to death on December 16, 2021, in the Hamilton Heights section of Upper Manhattan. Perez, Mason, Beeman, Johnson, Rouzin, and Gant were further charged with multiple other violent crimes in connection with the Sevside and Third Side gangs, including attempted murder and assault with a dangerous weapon arising from 7 shootings committed in the Bronx between June 2020 and February 2022. The Sevside indictment is assigned to United States District Judge Louis J. Lyman. The Third Side indictment is assigned to United States District Judge Paul A. Engelmayer. Rouzin and Gant are currently in federal custody in connection with the charges contained in the Third Side superseding indictment. Mason, Johnson, and Castro were arrested this morning in the Bronx and are expected to be presented last Thursday before Magistrate Judge Valerie Figueiredo. Perez, who was in state custody, has been transferred to federal custody and is also expected to be presented last Thursday. Smith and Beeman are fugitives. NYPD Commissioner Keechant L. Sewell said, "The deadly nexus of gangs and illegal guns in New York City is a grave threat to public safety in our city. Combating this crisis is the NYPD's top priority, and today's indictments are another step toward ridding our streets of violence and fear. I want to thank the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York and everyone else involved with this case who worked to make our city safer for all the people we serve." According to the allegations in the Sevside indictment and the Third Side superseding indictment and statements previously made on the record in this case and related matters. From at least 2019 to 2022, members of Sevside and Third Side, 2 street gangs based in the 48th Precinct in the Bronx, New York, aligned with one another to terrorize their own and surrounding neighborhoods by committing indiscriminate shootings against members of rival street gangs. Members of the gangs also promoted the gangs and gun violence on social media and through music they created and promoted, which referenced real acts of violence. For years, Sevside and Third Side engaged in disputes with rival crews in the Bronx and in Manhattan, which resulted in numerous acts of violence, including the following. Perez murdered Oscar Hernandez in broad daylight in Manhattan on December 16, 2021. Perez, Gant, and Rouzin shot at rival gang members on June 20, 2020. Johnson shot at a rival gang member on June 26, 2020. Gant shot at rival gang members on July 7, 2020. Gant shot at rival gang members on July 16, 2020. Rousen shot at a rival gang member on December 13, 2020. Perez, Mason, and Beeman shot at rival gang members on November 10, 2021, and Mason shot at a rival gang member and hit an innocent bystander on February 10, 2022. A chart containing the names of the defendants who were charged today and on January 26, 2023, and the charges and minimum and maximum penalties they face is attached. All of the defendants are residents of the Bronx, New York. The statutory minimum and maximum penalties are prescribed by Congress and are provided here for informational purposes only, as any sentencings of the defendants would be determined by a judge. Mr. Williams praised the outstanding investigative work of the NYPD and thanked the New York County District Attorney's Office and the Bronx County District Attorney's Office for their assistance. This case is being handled by the office's Violent and Organized Crime Unit. Assistant U.S. Attorneys Elizabeth Espinoza, Jim Lichtenberg, and N.I. Chien are in charge of the prosecution. The charges contained in the indictment and the superseding indictment are merely accusations, and the defendants are presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. Minimum and maximum penalties. Kevin Perez, 19. Racketeering conspiracy, murder in aid of racketeering, use of a firearm resulting in death, attempted murder and assault with a dangerous weapon in aid of racketeering, use of a firearm for attempted murder and assault with a dangerous weapon. Mandatory life in prison or death. Devin Mason, 24. Racketeering conspiracy, attempted murder and assault with a dangerous weapon in aid of racketeering, use of a firearm for attempted murder and assault with a dangerous weapon, possession of a firearm with defaced serial number. Maximum of life in prison, mandatory minimum 20 years to run consecutive to any other sentence. Irvin Beeman, 23. Racketeering conspiracy, attempted murder and assault with a dangerous weapon in aid of racketeering, use of a firearm for attempted murder and assault with a dangerous weapon. Maximum of life in prison, mandatory minimum 10 years to run consecutive to any other sentence. Nicholas Johnson, 21. Racketeering conspiracy, attempted murder and assault with a dangerous weapon in aid of racketeering, use of a firearm for attempted murder and assault with a dangerous weapon. Maximum of life in prison, mandatory minimum 10 years to run consecutive to any other sentence. Sean Smith, 32. Racketeering conspiracy, possession of a firearm after a felony conviction. Maximum of 30 years in prison. Jossie Castro, 25. Racketeering conspiracy, maximum of 20 years in prison. Isaiah Rousen, 22. Racketeering conspiracy, attempted murder and assault with a dangerous weapon in aid of racketeering, use of a firearm for attempted murder and assault with a dangerous weapon, transportation and receipt of a firearm while under felony indictment. Maximum of life in prison, mandatory minimum 20 years to run consecutive to any other sentence. Michael Gant, 21. Racketeering conspiracy, attempted murder and assault with a dangerous weapon in aid of racketeering, use of a firearm for attempted murder and assault with a dangerous weapon. Maximum of life in prison, mandatory minimum 20 years to run consecutive to any other sentence. As the introductory phrase signifies, the entirety of the text of the indictment and the superseding indictment and the description of the indictments set forth herein constitute only allegations, and every fact described should be treated as an allegation.